I am kind of from a different industry, but at the same time, many principles are the same. I'm an entrepreneur now. I was in a bank earlier, and it's a very different kind of entrepreneurship. It's not just, of course, it's a company and it makes revenues and everything, but it's a different kind of entrepreneurship I do, which is to, the broadest definition of an entrepreneur, which is to change things, to change the world, to change the way things are. And for me, I have this changing the game is not just a cliche. It sounds very good in a conference like this, changing the game session, but it's not. I am an MBA and I hate jargon, but this is actually the way I do business, and this is just maybe thought I'll share things which I don't normally get to share in the media or in public, but I can share in a small group of like-minded people so that you have that mindset, so you'll understand. Because if an author is otherwise seen in public talking about business, it's considered like, what kind of author is he? But behind any brand, behind anything, there is a infrastructure, there is a business, there is a strategy. It doesn't just happen, right? And beyond a point, you definitely need one. Maybe initially it happens, and how it's happened for me is something interesting. How many of you are? I know some people are from not from India. How many of you have no idea who I am? Okay, that's good. So, ask your neighbor. I will tell you. So it's good. So there's something in it for you guys also. So I'll try to like maybe give a little bit of background on me, but predominantly, I am not. I'm here as people in my bio it says the author, but I'm not from that heritage at all, and I've done things here which have changed a lot of things in various industries, and how I've done it is through this strategy of doing business. And I'll just walk you through it, because somewhere down the line you need to start thinking of this. You guys are all senior at your levels, and sometimes you try to grow your career in a certain way, and then you hit a roadblock and you're like, why are things not working? And there's nothing you're doing wrong, it's just that sometimes one strategy works and sometimes another strategy works. Let's see. This is my pre-writer days. I worked in Goldman Sachs from 97 to 2005 in Hong Kong. I went there around the Asian crisis. I don't know, some of you may remember, and some of you are too young to even know what Asian crisis was. Do you know what the Asian crisis was? Okay, good. That just made me feel very, very old now. But there was a big crisis like the subprime crisis in the US then, and then Deutsche Bank 2005 to 2009. And my background has been in credit research and distressed debt. In fact, I've read more loan documents than books in my life. Now I'm reading, catching up on the books really well. But basically, resettling troubled companies, trying to get money out of people who don't want to pay the bank. And it's all those kind of fun things, throwing people out of houses and all those things. Not exactly that, but threatening to do that is what I have done. So distressed people, companies, and now I write books about distressed people. So pretty much similar. First book came out in 2004 while I was still at Goldman Sachs, and then 2009 I've been a full-time author, and you can say entrepreneur, because I don't see myself as just an author. When I see, that's why I don't particularly have that thing that as an author I have to get somewhere. My job is to communicate, and an author communicates through books, but like today I'm here speaking to you. It's got nothing to do with books. So in a very broad sense is what I'm trying to do, to reach as much of India as possible and to try and change things in industries and give some positive messages to people. What is a game? I said it's called Change the Game. It was not, like I said, I don't mean it just as a fancy title. First, let's understand what a game is, right? And why in business many times people say change the game, what's the game out here? Because it's important to understand what the game competition, right? And it has rules, and the winner gets a reward. So it's kind of like business. But tennis also has the same thing. There's competition, there are rules, and there's a reward for winner. This is the dictionary definition. Any activity undertaken regarded as contest, rivalry, strategy, struggle. So first of all, in your career, see it as a game. That's the first lesson. It's just a game going on, okay? Don't get too caught up like, oh my God, I didn't get promoted, this didn't happen, this guy's making more money. It's just a game. Because that's the right attitude. There was this movie called The Game. Anybody saw it? Yeah, the whole movie was a game. And the guy didn't know there is a game going on. So in some ways, that is life. It is a game. Now, how do you win a game, right? You typically win a game by winners who do it better than others. So if you're playing tennis with somebody, if Nadal is playing with Federer, and depending on, so Nadal wants to win, he has to play better than Federer, right? And if somebody wants to beat Nadal, then he has to play better than him. And in sports is like that. You just have to play better than the other guy. You have to play better cricket, better this. And in business also that's the way. You just make a better product and a better, just go marginally better, and then you will win it. And that's standard, that's the way the world normally works. So that's the first kind of winners. Second kind of winners, winners who change the game. Now, I can't write better books than any other author. I just can't. Okay, I don't have that talent in me. I have some talents in me, but I can't win the first way. And anyway, in books is very written a better book, right? In sports, it's still easy, but they are winners who have changed the game, and that's where it departs from sports. In business, in certain fields like entertainment, which I am from, you can change the game. In technology, for example, in tech industries, you don't have to just make better and better phones or better and better this. If you can change the whole game only, which many companies have done, and then, oh my God, everybody's like, even the winner there feels so inadequate. So that is the two different approaches to win, and that applies to your career also, right? It applies to anything. You have to decide how you want to make your life. And sometimes you have to choose. I'm not saying one is a better or a cooler strategy than the other. So changing the game, a lot of people think it happens by chance, right? A lot of people think it sometimes does happen by chance. When I started writing books, I didn't realize I was changing the game. My first book was not, I was working in the bank and it was a hobby, but it came to be known as a game-changing book. And then I figured out, you know what, it's got me very far, mainly to change the game, not because of anything else. Then it becomes a habit, and then finally it is a conscious strategy. Today, when me and my team, we do business, we are always thinking, what are we changing now? What game will we change now? If I don't do that, I will not be who I am. And all the support I enjoy, which is largely from the young people of India, will go away. It's not so much about the books I do, it is the way I do them. It is the way something disruptive is going to happen again and again and again. And it's a strategy. People think, oh my God, how did... But at the back end, it's a conscious strategy. Because that's the only way to survive in entertainment business. Entertainment is getting people's attention. Now, you get people's attention, they get bored after a while, right? So, you got to do something before they move to somebody else, do something else. So, one more explosion here and one more explosion there. It's like, that's how it works. That is a conscious strategy which can be adopted. Some myths. People think you have to be a genius to change the game. Only Steve Jobs can do it. Right? It's not true. Changing the game is not a game. It's not like you have to be a genius to... You can change the game in smaller ways. And people also feel it's said in retrospect. Oh yeah, now we can say iPhone changed the game. Oh, now we can say this happened. No, it's not true. It can be done as a strategy. And that people feel it can't be learned or practiced. No, I don't think so. I think it can, because I've done it over and over again. And I feel it can, there's something for everyone to think about in this. Where does this come from? It basically comes from a very old quote, which is possibly the most important quote in business, which is, it is not the strongest, not the most intelligent that survives. It is the one that most adaptive one survives. So if you work in a bank, it's not like your bank has to be the best bank in terms of it has the biggest bank or in terms of the smartest strategy. No. The bank that adapts to customers and what they want will win. Being smart or being strong, it's got nothing to do with that really. It is the law of nature. You had big dinosaurs going extinct, and you have little cockroaches which are hanging in there. Why? Because they have adapted, and dinosaurs kind of, I think, found it a little inconvenient to adapt, and they went away. So it's how life is. That is how nature is. So might as well be in harmony with it, right? Everything has to work according to this. Otherwise, no, it will not work. So this is the reality. If you take away the myths, the strongest don't survive, and those who adapt to. And when you say changing the game, it's just a very fancy way of saying it's by winning by adaptation, right? When you are adapting better than others, you will end up changing the game. So how have I changed the game? Some examples I'll give you, right? So in books I've tried to do it, in films I've tried to do it, and in columns I've tried to do it. There's still other areas I'm very curious and I want to change the game, but I'm just, to keep it kind of brief, 3 different areas I'll tell you how it happened for me, how it happened in India, how things became different here. So when I started writing books, my first book came out in 2004. So around that time, 2-3 period, when I was trying to get it published, it was quite difficult. A lot of people didn't want to publish it, and they said, because this was the rules of the Indian English novel at that time. Indian writers typically write literary novels, and you have to win a prize in the UK, which is, you know, maybe like the Booker Prize, and there's a couple of other prizes, and at least get a nomination. And if you get that, then you will get some acclaim for it, and then you sell some books, and 5,000 copies was a bestseller. Now these were the rules. You go to any publishing house, he will say, yes, this is how it is. You are absolutely right. In this, I wrote a book about 3 boys bumbling in one hostel in India, and they're just doing nothing remarkable, if you ask me. And obviously if you have 3 boys in boarding school, how literary can you make? At the end of the day, you can't describe a bed sheet on a boy's hostel bed for 3 pages. You can't, right? It's just going to be dirty and smelly, and that's what it's going to be. So it was one of those really casual kind of books, which obviously found a long problem for people to be picked up. But these were the rules. But what was not there, that there were no stories for an Indian written for Indians, right? It was stories written by Indians to win a UK prize, therefore to impress a UK jury, which typically consists of UK people, which are 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 years old sometimes. And then they decide that this is a good book and this is not a good book. Now, that's not what India is about. I mean, India is about 1 billion plus people. The adaptation stimulus was that more and more Indians were learning English. So a lot more people were learning English in India, but not very high level of English. Very basic English. People were sending their kids to English medium schools, but in small towns. So they know English, but they cannot know English to understand a literary novel, like a Salman Rushdie's novel. It's not like kids in Meerut or in some part in Assam. They know some English, but they are not going to enjoy a book like that, right? And nobody's catering to that. Nobody, right? Because everyone wants the UK prize. And you have every year millions and millions of new Indians who are learning English, but, you know, the publishing industry is not doing anything about it. So I was also, like I said, I bumped into it because I wrote the book I wanted to write, and then my book finally came out. I sold 1.3 million copies suddenly, right? Now the industry is like, what the hell happened? 5,000 is bestseller, and this is 1.3 million English books sold on a book which we didn't want to publish, because it had literally gone to all the publishing houses and it had been kept aside and said, no, sorry. It was called 5 Point Someone. It is about 3 boys. It became a movie also later, but I'll talk about movies separately. And it changed the game, because then the publisher said, even if you can get 1% of this market, it's still more than the bestsellers we chase. So they all shifted. Now everybody is doing books like this. Now some of them are not good, some of them are good, but that's normal. But it changed the game for the industry, because unfortunately nobody's writing those literary novels, which itself is a problem. But because like somebody needs to, right? Because everybody wants this. And I mean, they've managed. Many people have come and they've taken a portion of this market, and it's not like there is a dog eat dog, right? If there are 2 good books, they will both be read. If they're not, it's not like that kind of a business where. So, and I've done 5 novels so far, which 6 million books so far, and that's how this game was changed. Films. So I did this, and I thought, let me see if this storytelling skills can extend to films. Because if I want to reach maximum number of Indians, yeah, English books are selling a lot, but millions is nothing in India, because we are the billions kind of people.